Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the show. Today, we're going to talk about my top 5 favorite moments in cryptocurrency. These are my moments that I love, that I experienced. These are personal to me. And everyone in crypto has these moments. But let's look into that deep, dark past, the lore of Gabrielle Haynes, a lore which we are an expert in.
They fade away, he slips into his white night. He smokes a clip and then he's on the way.
You know, my friends.
To free his mind and search, to free his mind and search, to free his mind and search day and night. All alone, it seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone through the
Better
day
than
and night.
DFW, but
All alone, it seems to free his mind at night. At night, day and night. All alone, it seems to free his mind at night. He's all alone.
and let's just dive in with number 1, the Argent wallet. I knew nothing about crypto in 2020. I first got interested, as most people do, in Bitcoin. Bitcoin was something that came into my mind because at the time there was the COVID crash and they were promising big printing, PLAD. And I thought, oh, Bitcoin's supposed to be an inflation hedge, right? Let me learn about that. And as I learned about Bitcoin, I started to get a little bit interested in Ethereum. And Ethereum was this exciting place with new apps. But I didn't even know all of this.
Know that, for example, I think I deposited into one of these set protocol, funds. And at that time, I didn't even know that there was like a set protocol website. Like I just thought it was some sort of integration within Argent.
Because my first contact with the chain was through the Argent wallet. Now I have my gripes with the Argent Now Ready team.
You know what, Argent? You really fucking suck!
But credit where it's due, they were extremely early to the ecosystem and they had a very nice mobile UI for crypto. And at the time, I had no idea what I was doing. And they had a whole list of apps: Lend, Yearn, Uniswap, things I didn't really understand. But I started to click around. And I naively thought that all of these different apps were apps functionalities within the Argent wallet, and they've built in all of these different apps into their little ecosystem. Little did I know they were built on top of the world's greatest financial open network in the entire world, Ethereum. And my favorite moment looking back was when I emailed the CEO. I had a failed transaction. I tried to do a transaction inside the wallet. I tried to stake something. I don't remember exactly, but I still have the email to this day. And I sent him an email and I said, hey, what's going on here? You charged me gas and it didn't even work. I was trying to mint an NFT or something and it didn't even work. And I got charged this gas and it was like $20 and it was just gone. My ETH was just gone. And I was like, what the hell? And I emailed the CEO and yeah, he got back to me. And as I learned, these things happen. Transactions fail. And I feel like it used to happen a lot more. And actually, Ethereum has gotten a lot better. The tech of Ethereum, if you can believe it, has gotten a lot better since that time. So, Shout out to Argent. And shout out to the noob, Gabrielle Haynes. And that leads in to that was the beginnings of my cryptocurrency. And my beginnings of the content in cryptocurrency came shortly thereafter, specifically in the video DeFi space, talking about, I already mentioned it, Yearn Finance, YFI. At the time, and this was a little bit later on, maybe a couple months into my progression, but YFI, Yearn Finance, had just come out. The token was hot. It was being shilled by every person on CT. CT was much smaller then, and especially the content creation space much smaller then. But there was one person who shilled YFI harder than anyone, and that was Blue Kirby. And Blue Kirby was one of the original shill KOLs who has since disappeared, like so many of the best shill KOLs, aka Degen Spartan. But my favorite moment was when I got so inspired by Andre and what he created, especially with Why Die. Why Die was one of the very early projects within the Yearn ecosystem. And it was a yield-seeking dollar. Very simply, you could deposit DAI into the contract, and the contract would go to each of the major lending protocols and check which one, periodically it would check which one would lend at the highest rate, and it would move your DAI to that particular lending protocol. And that was really inspiring and exciting to me, because that just showed me the potential of DeFi. Look at this. I could go to any normie and say, hey, wouldn't you like it if the dollars in your bank account every day would search the entire world for the best yield, the best interest rate, and your dollars would go right to that bank? Wouldn't that be great? And they'll say, of course. And I say that's exactly what Why Die is. That was the original Yearn concept. Why earn? And you could also do that with other stablecoins, USDC, etc. But that got me so inspired that I made one of my very first crypto videos about this very topic and highlighting its founder, Andre Cronje. Andre, of course, has become more infamous as time goes on, especially at that time. But I was always inspired and admired Andre for his ability to experiment, to try new things, and always to test in prod, which was his way of saying, we ship and we don't give a shit. And I got involved with Yearn and made a bunch of content with some of the team there. And it was a good time in cryptocurrency, a much different time, but definitely a highlight within my journey in crypto. And number 3, also around that time, all of these are early days, exciting days, things that happen for the first time, the magic of cryptocurrency. This was the Uniswap airdrop. At the time, Uniswap was a standalone protocol. It didn't have a token. You could LP and make the market for all the different shitcoins. And that's what Uniswap specialized in, the tail end. Any coin can get listed on Uniswap. And many people did. But along came SushiSwap. And SushiSwap saw Uniswap and said, we're gonna raise you one, Uniswap. Any one of your LPs who's in your liquidity pools, who's placed capital in your protocol, can migrate to our protocol, SushiSwap. And not only are you going to get trading fees, but you are going to get that sweet, sweet sushi token.
The very beginning of SushiSwap, which was a couple months ago now, that was initially the way that you deposit your tokens on Uniswap, and then you would take those deposited tokens over to SushiSwap, and then you would get the rewards.
And by God, people migrated. It was a massive migration. And Uniswap got a little bit scared. And I always thought that 0x Maki was the coolest guy because he pushed the chips in and he forced Hayden and the rest of the Uniswap team to launch the Uni token.
Attack from SushiSwap, I think it was just like a lot of proving some dynamics that could happen in the space. I do think that people need to understand in the community, like, guys, you need to stop relying on Matteo or like the Uniswap team and just take leadership here.
And anyone who had interacted with the Uniswap protocol got 400 Uni token. And people who provided liquidity got even more than that. And some people made tremendous amount of money. But I got it on 2 wallets, and it was so exciting. It was magical to get money raining down from the sky. This has value. It was mind-blowing. It was so exciting.
There's a friend of mine, he was asking me about Uniswap. He's like, hey, do you think I should buy Uniswap token, right? And I was like, I don't know, man. I said, like, it's top 10 now, right? What is it, like top 5 now? The market cap?
No, not top 10. Is it top? I don't think it's top 10 yet, but it's number 1 DeFi token for sure. Unless you count Link.
I made it on 2 wallets, and that leads me in to my 4th most exciting moment. And these are by no means in any particular order. These are just moments that I remember that I want you to share. And I know that there are so many people out there that had these moments from around these times that had those similar feelings that I did. Yam Finance. Those days. People remember. VFAT. VFAT.tools. But I had 2 wallets. I made 1 wallet. This was my first on-chain MetaMask wallet. I had the Argent one, but I made a wallet with MetaMask and I bought a little bit of ETH on crypto.com, ported it over to that particular MetaMask wallet, B24A. And that was my wallet. But I was creating content. I was interacting with the community. I was getting to know people in the community. And I learned about a thing called Gitcoin. And Gitcoin is a little bit different than it is today But at the time, it was funding for crypto projects.
Listen up, you degens! I've entertained you. I've made you laugh. I've made you cry. I've made you think. Now I call on you to take action. It's time for Gitcoin grants.
I got really excited about this. I saw the opportunity. I was making crypto content and I felt like, hey, maybe I could get some funding. I saw some other projects. And for whatever reason, I needed to make another wallet. And this wallet, to be connected to my Gitcoin funding account, I needed a fresh wallet for whatever reason. I don't remember exactly why. But I made my new wallet, and that was the one I connected. And this funding round was so successful for me. I don't remember exactly how many thousands of dollars I got. It was a few thousand.
Thank you to all the Gitcoin contributors. I will now reveal what I have used your precious hard-earned money to acquire this beautiful new Ferrari.
But at the time, just to get any money for content that I had created at all was so exciting. I had been making content for several years up until then, not just in crypto. Even before that, I was making different types of content. And to see not only people caring, interacting, and getting, interacting, commenting, whatever, also getting funded by the community to continue. That was so exciting. And I would get in a die and you would get a little match from the Gitcoin. You get like $1 in, and it would be so cool. You see all the transactions totaling up $2, $3, $4, $5, $5, $10, $3, and that was so exciting. And that wallet, it got funded more than my original wallet, and it became my wallet till today, Haynes.eth, my hot wallet. And till today, you could see on Etherscan, it says funded by Gitcoin, that particular wallet. And that is a nice little bit of on-chain lore and something that I really liked about my experience. And I still use that wallet. That is what cryptocurrency is about, that sense of community, that sense of collectiveness, that sense of getting together, and especially funding things that you believe in. And that leads me in to number 5. And although I said it wasn't ranked, this is definitely, even till today, the best experience that I had in cryptocurrency. And that was going to the Bahamas to hunt SBF.
Samuel Bankman-Fried! I once respected you. I once thought that you were a true, altruistic individual. But now I see you're nothing but a liar and a snake. People put their trust in you, and you shat on it. I hope that you and your cronies go directly to jail.
This was at the time when Sam Bankman-Fried was just found out that he was a fraud. I made a video that was extremely popular about SBF and the polycool situation with Caroline.
FTX was just a big fuckfest. Caroline and SBF having sex on those goddamn beanbags. Picture that in your mind. That is disgusting.
You've probably seen it. But the community got together and put a funding round of $10,000 to send me to the Bahamas to investigate SBF. And this was just so fun and so cool and so exciting. Number one, because it wasn't even my idea. And just the fact that people wanted me to do this fun, cool, exciting thing, me out of anyone else, was really, really special and made me feel really, really good. And of course, going to the Bahamas is an adventure in itself.
This is Gabrielle. You may not recognize me as I am wearing a shirt, but this is part of my altered appearance.
You know, within 24 hours, it was already most of the way funded. So I knew that it was happening. So I told my wife, hey, this is happening. So we booked tickets, we drove down to the airport, and within 2 days, we were already 2 days from this being just an idea in Cup of Joseph's head, who was the guy who put the original funding page out there. We were on a plane.
Wag me, everyone say it back.
It was, I felt, a big responsibility on one hand, you know, to do this, but also it was a lot of fun and it was really, really cool. And being able to represent the community in such an organic, authentic way is something that is very, very special and is something very unique. It's not often that the community can conceptualize an idea and see it come to fruition in this kind of way. And I don't think there's many examples of a crowd-funded, journalistic content comedic trip like this, you know, in any industry. So that was really, really cool. You know, that trip, I made many videos about my experiences there, and it culminated in me yelling in SBF's parking lot in front of his multi-million-dollar apartment in the Bahamas. Now, a big part of the challenge was actually getting into that location. The Albany is the apartment complex where his house is or was. I'm not sure what the current legal proceedings of that particular property are, but regardless, you can't necessarily just walk in. I literally did try to walk in from the beach because it is located on a beach, but as I and my guide were walking in, we were promptly stopped by one of the security guards who politely asked us to turn around, which, of course, we did not put up a fuss. But I knew I had to figure out another way to get into the property. And it was so funny because some people were sending me, people that I really respected in crypto, people that, didn't usually talk to me, were sending me information about how to get in and screenshots and all kinds of things. That was really cool. And eventually, I had figured out that the day before we left, there was a golf tournament. The Albany has a golf course adjacent to their complex. Of course they do. And the golf course was designed by none other than Tiger Woods. So they were holding an event. So I bought tickets for me and my wife to go to the golf event that day. So we just drove in, showed the tickets to the guard, and he said, okay, great, go park in Concourse B. So I drove right past Concourse B and drove right into the residential area and parked right close to SBF's apartment. Now, I knew that as soon as I popped my shirt off and started yelling, there were going to be issues. So I definitely took my time in the Albany before doing that particular video. As I mentioned, I did a bunch of videos during the whole trip, on the airplane. I took a etc. I took a cucumber, was waving it outside his apartment, drove past just by the complex, say, Sammy, Sammy, my boy.
Oh, Sammy, my dear boy. Oh, Sammy. Why don't you come out and play, my dear Sammy?
Because SBF was famously a vegan. There were some photos of SBF in a grocery store, which I recreated. But overall, the highlight was yelling and screaming, which lasted for about 20 seconds until the security came and stopped us.
And your crony, go directly to jail!
My wife was filming while holding my child, and you can see in the video that there is a stroller next to me. Hilariously. That is because my daughter was there watching as I was screaming SBF. And I had a whole speech kind of thought out in my mind. Of course, I wasn't able to deliver it, and I don't remember the exact words that I had, but it was very biblical, very retribution. Samuel Bateman-Fried, you're a liar and a snake. You know, classic shit. Classic shit. And I have to say, that was definitely, till today, that entire experience was my #1 experience in cryptocurrency. And I've had experiences that come close, but that was really, really cool. And I'm so grateful that I was the one who did that. BitBoy also went. He was there too. But he went on his own dime, a little bit different. So, if you watch until now, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate it. And make sure you follow my project, 1000X Productions, as we make the world's greatest TV pilot. And until next time, ta-ta!